Hey, welcome to Mindful Blerd, where we dive deep into mindfulness, explorations around mental, physical, and spiritual health, all while celebrating that blurred black nerd identity.
Yes, where we dive deep into anime, movies, and the politics of our world.
I'm motivational speaker. I'm your spiritually grounded weirdo kind of person.
He's also an actor.
I'm
He's
also an
also
actor.
yeah. He's not talking about how cool he fucking is. And I am your political radical goofy wise. And together we are Mindful Blerd.
Mindful Blerd.
Yes, sir. Where our unique perspectives create a space for thoughtful and funny and real conversations. All right.
What's up,
Without
guys?
further ado, okay. Today, guys, we are talking about Frieren. All right. The world's most peaceful and randomly out of nowhere, the best action scenes you've seen out of nowhere, but also deep as hell. Yeah.
Number one rated anime on IMDb right now, too.
Yes, that's his dethroning Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a feat that is not done often. Okay. And in order to talk about that topic, I thought to myself, who would be the best creator to bring upon the pod? And we brought on no one other than Hobakage right here, baby. Let's go.
Hey.
Welcome. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I love talking about Frieren.
Yes, I'm so glad. We're going to be talking for the next hour and a half. Thank God. All right. So how we usually start our pod is before we get into the show, we try to, always bring mindfulness and also just deep shit to the pod. You know what I'm saying? So we have a quote of the week. And since we have a guest this week, we asked Hobie to bring on a quote. So what do you got for us, Hobie?
Okay, so this is a quote that I try to live by. I'll explain it. So I'll read the quote. I believe in love like a candle wick believes in a flame, which is to say, I will live and die by it.
Ooh,
I know.
Oh, shit.
I know.
That's cold.
That hit me in the soul. Oh my God. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you say it one more time?
I believe in love like a candle. Wait, stop. I thought I had it memorized. Okay.
I fucked you up.
I believe in love like a candle wick believes in a flame, which is to say, I will live and die by it.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And what brings you? What about that resonates with you personally?
So I was live on TikTok, right? And I was telling people the characters I hate. I hate Eren Yeager. I hate Sasuke. And I hate Gon from Hunter x Hunter. I don't like Gon from Hunter x Hunter. And people were like, you obviously got something wrong with you, girl. Like, why would you say that? And it's for a very simple reason. I don't believe in revenge. I'm not saying turn the other cheek, be a pushover. Like Sasuke's whole family was genocided and they were in an apartheid state. I get it. But for me, I wouldn't say that I live and die by love, but I try to live and die by kindness. Like I believe in the power of kindness, which like a candle wick believes in a flame, which is that I will live and die by it. And I don't know if it's because I grew up in the church or I grew up on Naruto, but I'm very much so like
believe it.
Exactly. Like believe it.
Yeah.
You can use talk no jutsu.
Yeah.
I think as humans, our lives are so short. We don't have much going for us. We're a very fragile, tiny species. The least we can do is try to be kind.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I have dragged people on TikTok before, but that's, we all have our moments.
We all have our moments. Yes, I agree.
Like, I've started beef, but
Do you also think like maybe those characters are that's also built into those characters? Like they took L's, like that shit didn't go well for them. Like
that's the lesson.
And
I think that's the point, kind of. It's kind of the point. It's like shit didn't go well for them. Maybe don't be a brooding little bastard like fucking Sasuke. You know what I mean? Yeah. And granted, he had a reason to feel that way, and no one's gonna minimize the trauma that he has lived through as a person, but to completely identify with said trauma and allow it to dictate your life can only lead you to more trauma, more misery, more pain. You know what I'm saying? So when you said that quote to me, immediately I was just like, knife in the chest. Oh my God, that sounds so like deep and like almost like Romeo and Juliet-esque. But then as you began to elaborate, I started to resonate it with on a deeper level when he started to talk about kindness. You know what I mean? And I think I view kindness as a sort of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of intention, because it takes, especially as like Himmel, to be so dedicated to like instilling kindness in your life as a way of living. You know what I mean? It's so intentional. You know what I mean? So like that's like you're almost like instilling that love into your life through through yourself, but like for all of humanity. You know what I mean? So it's like you're kind of spreading that, and it's like I really resonate, and that's like something I really try to live by in my life. Like even like when I'm around or like just going about my day, I try to just say hi to everybody. You know what I mean? Just like spread positive energy and vibes, and like just be my like loud, energetic, goofy, enthusiastic self. You know what I mean? Because not only because like I think that it's important to just be cordial, but like it's like, man, somebody might be having a day. And I remember when somebody noticed me and they said hi to me, or they gave me like a little bit of extra energy, like in how good that made me feel. Bro. You know what I mean? So why not spread that? You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's like one of the few things in the world that's free. You know, it costs you nothing to just smile and wave, or just like not be horrible.
Yeah.
I think some people, I remember I got into like this debate with somebody, and they're like, well, kindness doesn't always work. And I'm just like, I'd rather die because I was kind than live because I was a horrible person. I'm sorry. I can't do it, love. I can't do it. You know?
Yeah.
I think people also confuse kindness with niceness. Like, like,
Ooh.
do you know what I mean? Those aren't the same things. Like, it can, the kind thing to do might be for me to whip your ass right now. Like, that might be the kindest thing I can do in this moment. But like, being nice doesn't necessarily mean being kind. I think that's also a big delineation.
I think they also think, they think that kindness is also being a pushover,
or like a people pleaser, or like a people pleaser. Yeah. And it's like, as someone who has experienced a lot of people pleasing tendencies in my life, you know what I mean? It's like being a people pleaser is actually not the kindest thing you can do, because people pleasers, I mean, tend to like build resentment for people. You know what I mean? Because they're constantly trying to please them and like not communicating their feelings about things, and then eventually it ends up blowing up on them. You know what I mean? Because they're not being true to themselves. You know what I mean? And I don't think that is like really being kind. You know what I mean?
Not being kind to yourself.
Yeah, not being kind to yourself. You know what I mean? Because it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Like you can't just live a kind life and only be for other people. You have to live by your own principles and also like be that person to yourself. Would you say that's the very true for you as well, Hobie?
I would say that's definitely something I had to learn. Because I kind of grew up in a very charitable family. Like we didn't have nothing, but we didn't have a whole lot. And when I went off to like college, I was like, oh, well, do unto others. And so I was always helping everyone. And I was realizing my kindness isn't what's helping them become like I'm not being kind giving that girl 2 doors down Q-tips. I'm being kind by telling her she needs to get her butt up, go to the store. You're an adult. Buy your own Q-tips, girl. You know? And so kindness is like this obstacle course you have to navigate to figure out what the definition is for you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it definitely comes from a place of love, regardless. You know what I mean? And I think going back to your original quote, you know what I mean? I think that is I think it's fucking beautiful. David, do you have any thoughts as well?
I mean, I feel like mine probably taking a different direction. I don't know. I mean, you got time.
Oh, it's okay. Take it a different direction. Take it a different direction. That's the whole point, bro. Yeah.
It's not even a different direction. I really resonate with everything you guys said. For me, when you said that quote, it really hit me as, you know, a lot of the time, I think I had a very sort of limited idea of what I thought love was. I think I had a very sort of childish kind of whatever. And since like, you know, I've gotten a bit older, my experience of love is one of more of a selflessness, not in the sense that I'm like just putting others before me and people pleasing, but just being off of like not so tight with my ideas about who I think I am and tight about that kind of shit. And I find that when I'm more willing to drop that on a daily basis, on a moment to moment basis, it kind of brings me into a bit of a harmony with the people in the moments around me, right? Because I'm not creating that separation in that moment, right? If something happens or around somebody, I'm not in my head like thinking about, well, you know, I thought they were going to do this. If I can let that go in that moment, there's a sort of merging that happens, right? When I'm not in my head, I'm like in that moment with that person. For me, that's a kind of love.
Yeah,
that's a
it
kind
is.
of unconditional love.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
that's what I really like. I'm like a candle to a fucking flame. Like it's a necessity, like for my life.
No, and I think, holy fuck, that's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like to be truly present with someone in any given moment, you know what I mean? And like truly appreciating the experience that you have with someone, I think is not only like beautiful, you know what I mean? But it's so hard to do in today's day and age. Like we have so much attention seeking, like distractions, like, oh, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna watch my I'm gonna scroll my phone while I eat. When the fuck did I have to become this medieval ass lord and I gotta have entertainment while I eat? Nigga, just eat. The partner's right there, bro. Just eat with them and enjoy the food. Talk about the food. You know what I mean?
And I think dog meal the other day. It was like brand new to me. I was like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? Just straight ate with no phone. I was like, wait.
You know what's really crazy is Raw Dog in the toilet now. It's like,
yeah.
There's Raw Dog in the toilet.
No, that's way crazy. Hold up. Don't get too crazy out here, bro.
Don't scroll in, nigga, at all, nigga. Just straight.
Just better, like, yeah, you're right.
Nah, but since I couldn't think of a better point to transition into the masterpiece that is Frieren than talking about, presence, and the importance of spending time with other people. As we saw, this show definitely hit that home. But yeah, what are your thoughts in terms of that perspective as far as Frieren?
I think if we were focusing on being present, the reason why a lot of we're not present is because of how limited our time is, right? I only have 24 hours in a day. I only have 80 years, 90 years of life, right? And so when you take someone and you stretch out their life for thousands of years, then you wonder, well, how present will they be? What will they do with their relationships?
Wow.
And I think we see Frieren kind of navigate that throughout the show.
Yeah. I think it's fucking beautiful. And it's like initially, I think, you just touched on so many great things in a short amount of time. It's like, oh my God. It's like, how do I even respond to this in a way that lives up to your response? You know what I mean? But I think, specifically speaking about presence and also like the time we have in our life as human beings, we usually only have a little bit of time. And I feel as though like, because of that, we usually try to focus on like a set goal, right? Like in story writing, it's also the same. It's like you have attention and then an obstacle to that attention, a character, intention, and then obstacles to set attention. Oh, I'm Luffy. I want to be the pirate king.
Yeah.
Now the story is about the obstacle, him going through the obstacle of doing. Oh, I'm Naruto, Thorfinn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But what was really interesting about this show is that we started at the end of that journey, you know what I mean, to defeat the Demon King, and we were left with Frieren here now on a different journey to kind of like discover herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The title is literally Beyond Journey's End, like Frieren Beyond Journey's End, which is fucking crazy. Like,
you know what's funny? The title is literally that, and then people were like, "Why isn't there any like adventure going on?" First of all, there is, but second of all, it literally said it was going to start off where it ended. I don't know how to help you at this point. Like, what?
You don't listen to instructions. Like, Johnny had 5 apples.
If 1 + 1 is 2, like, let's start doing the math, people. At some point, we need to talk about that, because I truly feel like, not to get too off topic, but I truly feel like a lot of the hate that Frieren gets is people not understanding what they're watching. You didn't sign up for Naruto. You did not sign up for... You practically signed up for a slice of life slow burn. Like, what did you, Bestie? I can't help you if you can't read. Like, it's anyway.
No, literally. David, your thoughts?
Man,
there's so much here that I don't even feel like I got into it all the way. But
I know. I'm sorry. I thought I cut you off.
No. Do not. I want to create space for you to speak, please.
Frieren Beyond Journey's End, as far as like presence and time, for me, like one of the biggest things that there's so many things I want to talk about that, but because they do so many great things in this show with time and dealing with like all the characters and shit like that. But the biggest thing I think is at the end or in the beginning when we like start with the defeating the Demon King. So much of defeating the Demon King is exactly what you were saying. That's like a great metaphor for finally doing the thing, finally getting the thing that we think is gonna make us happy. We're gonna make us whole. That's gonna fulfill our lives, and then having to deal with the now what. And like whereas like everybody else had another 30 something years, maybe, you know, the dwarf had a bit longer, but like they had a little time. She had so much more time. It was like 1/100th of her life. And she's like, okay, well, yeah, I did it. We did it. And I think just from a practical standpoint, there's so many people in life who feel that way, like about their experience of existing in the world. It's like, you know, we're told that once we grow up and we get the things and you do this thing and you get this thing and you can survive and you get the car and you get the family or you get the house and you get the money and you get the thing, then everything's okay. You've defeated the Demon King. It's the now what. And I think to Hobie's point, like so much of the hate happens because so many folks are at that sort of impasse in their life where they don't know what to fucking do with their self after that. One of the big things I wrote down was like something that came up was this idea of depression. Like there's a depression epidemic, especially around young men, because they don't know what to do with themselves and they don't know how to form these relationships. And they're all we're all pretty much Frieren to a degree because we're always looking to the next thing. Like, what's the thing? And you know, life doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I think
that's beautiful. Yeah, go ahead, Hobie.
I was gonna say, I think that's where having small passions to keep you going in between it all. Because I had like an auntie tell me one time, she was like, life is like a mountain range. The peaks are going to be smaller than the valleys. And so Frieren had this huge peak of going on this like crazy weekend adventure for her. It was essentially like a weekend adventure. It was like a crazy trip to Vegas for local people, right? And now she's in that valley and there's a long stretch. And I think part of the reason why her valley isn't such like a deep, like depressive episode, because it could have been a lot worse, is because she has those small things that keep her happy, that she's satisfied with almost the mundane. She's okay with just collecting spells because somebody once praised her for that. And now she does that to keep those connections alive. And so I think as people, we need to try to be comfortable in the mundane, in the valleys, and not always search for the next peak because the peaks are far and few in between.
Amen.
That was beautiful. Can we write that down really quick? That was like 1930 before Hobie quote. God damn, Hobie. Hey, you wasn't playing, huh? You wasn't playing. She said, hey, I put my big girl boots on today. Okay. No, so what I want to add on to that is, and just to layer on top of that, is small passions, but also small passions, yes. But I think also what that is also getting at is expression of self, discovery of self. You know what I mean? And to hit it back home where David said, you know, it causes depression, right? It's because suppression of self-expression equals depression. You know what I'm saying? It's because people don't know how. There's no road. We don't have a guidebook to ourselves. You know what I mean? So what society is always telling us is to chase the thing. Chase the thing, chase the thing, chase the thing, right? And it's like now I have the thing. What do I do next? Oh, new thing. No. What you need to be doing is looking inward. You know what I mean? Looking inward and reevaluating the process of like what you really want. You know what I mean? And during that process, you might find something else you want, but like we're in the valley now. It's self-discovery time. Look inwards. And I feel like people need to know how to look in, so that they can, you know, during the valleys of life, you know, continue to, you know, have a North Star, you know, and not feel lost. You know what I mean?
And, you know, I think one thing that we may take for granted or just like overlook a bit in Frieren is that she was already content with the mundane, with her life before she went and chased the high, before she slayed the Demon King. She was okay. She was not the happiest, but she was content. And so when she came off that high, when she finished her adventure, the crash wasn't so low. Even before we achieve our life dreams, our goals, I think we need to be comfortable where we're at, be comfortable with the silence. That way, when you know, the chorus comes and everything starts getting chaotic, you can still ground yourself in it.
Yeah. In many ways, Frieren is a reminder, a beautiful reminder of how important it is to value the journey over the destination. And this is obviously it's a cliche quote, the journey over the destination. But like through the course of, you know, Frieren's journey, we are reminded of that. It almost felt like the episode was like the episodes were like a filler episode normally in a, you know, regular show, like a One Piece or a Naruto, right? But in these moments of, you know, like quote unquote filler, you know what I mean? We're getting like some real fucking gems of life, you know, like what comes to mind, hitting home on, you know, presence and the valuing time. Obviously, Frieren has a different perspective of time, being like an immortal being, essentially. You know, she's used to people coming in and out of her life. And there was that one scene that I think about particularly is when Frieren, she was like her original group was like crying because they didn't get up in the morning and see the sunset. And they're like, oh, she's like, bro, what are y'all tripping, bro? It's just a sunset. I got like 50-11 of these motherfuckers left, bro. I got plenty of these motherfuckers left, right? I'm not worried about it. And then flash forward into the future when Fern wakes her up in the morning. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Yeah, wakes her up in the morning and then they go outside and see the sunset. And it's not that the sunset was so beautiful all of a sudden. It was the most amazing thing in the world. But spending that time with the sunset with the people that you love and enjoy being in the present moment and enjoying that for what it is, I think gave her as an immortal being, like kind of like a deeper appreciation for all the time that she is spending, you know, on living. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to like, man, fuck. Cause it's about the connections. Like so much. I want to go back a little because also, I think also so much of what you're finding in the story of Frieren is making that makes the mundane, you know, so powerful is the connections we form with people. It's like because she was so Demon King focused, she wasn't focused on the small things about them. Like the whole thing that essentially sets the journey off is she didn't know Himmel. She's like, I didn't get to know him. She's at a funeral, like, what the fuck is going on? And it shocks her to her core. Like, and so, you know, she begins this journey going from place to place. Like, do you guys need anything? Like, how you guys doing? Like trying to like forge these connections, which I think is something that, I mean, I definitely struggle with in my life. It's just generally, you know, connecting with people beyond the sort of Demon King aspect of them, the usefulness of someone or something, which is an objectification of people. And I genuinely relate to that. I do want to say one more thing about the fucking the episodes, because I think this is a brilliant use of something in the episodes. And I know Hobie went to fucking film school, so you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Is like how they use montage in this show is probably one of the most genius things I've ever experienced. Like, because montages are essentially a compression of time, right? And the way they use them in Frieren is to either fill the time or empty the time. So they'll use a montage in Frieren to fill the time, where it's like so many things happen in a very short amount of time, to the point. I mean, those episodes feel thick. Like by the time you get to the halfway point, you're like, yo, it's halfway. I feel like we did so much shit. It's because they got a montage in there and they're giving you so much shit, which is essentially giving you the experience of Frieren actually paying attention to her life, right? Your life becomes full when you care about these small moments. But also on the flip, they also use montages to highlight the moments when she is empty. And so they'll use a montage and they'll cut to Fern and be like, bitch, we've been here for 6 months. What are we doing? Like, and you're like, yo. And so it's such a powerful like show in the sense, I love how they use montage because it essentially gives the audience the experience of Frieren and how full life can be when you don't just kind of move from thing to thing to thing.
That is I had to write it down. That's legitimately beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like life being full when you're being present and living, you know, for the connections of people instead of the experiences of people. You know what I mean? Or things, or you know what I mean? And man, this show really hit that home for me. It's such a beautiful show, man. I really love it. You have any thoughts, Obi?
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing about the montages. I want to say two things about how the show's like edited. If you like watch it, it's like legit always 2 episodes in one. Like that's why I don't get why people are like, oh, Frieren is slow. I'm like, girly Bob, there's 2 episodes crammed into one.
Yeah, literally.
And like at the 15-minute mark, it's like a whole new episode, really. And I think one thing that I wanted to point out about the montages is that they are very, like, they're slow. It's not like a quick camera pan. It's not chop, 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 chop. They're lulling you through life. And I think that really helps show things from Frieren's perspective and how she kind of goes through life. And how it could be 6 months, but it was only a slow, sweeping, beautiful montage.
That's amazing. And what just came to mind for a second right now, just to bring something up that's just like super present with me right now, is like, as we are filming this podcast, it's an opportunity to be present right now and enjoy the process. Like, I can think about, like, oh, is this clip gonna go do well? Am I talking good enough? Am I adding enough to the conversation? And ultimately, like, I'm spending more time in my head instead of in the present and enjoying the conversation for what it is and just being who I am. You know what I mean? And I think when the times that I am more present in that, I reflect on it and be like, man, that was just so much fucking fun. You know what I mean? I was like really in the moment. You know what I mean? And it's like judgment free. And it can be hard to live life like that. I mean, as a human, you know what I mean? Especially with, I mean, I know I can speak for myself. The intrusive thoughts be intrusive. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like always like, oh, am I talking too much? Am I doing this and then doing that? But it's like, I think what I learned recently that kind of helped me get through that is just like, you know, it's like not only living with kindness, but also like just kind of like being my own best friend, you know what I mean? And giving myself the benefit of the doubt, you know what I mean? So even if I think a situation might have went weird or whatever, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I got me, bro. It's cool, bro. I'm like, you gonna be all right, bro. Like, if anything, if somebody else did that shit, you be fine. So why am I gonna be so hard on myself? You know, fuck it. We ball. You know what I'm saying? Ball up top. God damn it. You know what I'm saying? We moving on.
Hell yeah.
That's very true.
I thought I had a question. Oh, just a random thing. My favorite fucking episode, not my favorite, but like the one where I think the fanboys were like, oh, finally, was the Fern fight when Fern and they had that fight. Did you guys notice?
What fight?
It's the one where
on the roof.
On the roof, yeah. When she's on the top of
the first one,
that first big fight where she
the
had
first major one,
Did you guys notice the Gojo vibe on that shit? Because it's straight up hidden. It's hidden inventory. Like literally, she's floating in the sky, like looking at this guy in purple, and blows a fucking moon-shaped hole through him. And she's like beating him, and he's like, "Wait, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening?" And he's like, "Wait, am I gonna?" And then like she blows a hole through him, and I'm like, "Yo, this is straight up JJK." It was like a homage. Some shit.
It was like Toji or some shit. It was like Toji. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. Speaking to that really quickly, how do you think that Frieren's philosophy or even Fern's relationship ties into the magic system? You know what I mean? Because we notice how like Frieren doesn't use like any like specific elemental kind of shit. You know what I mean? She's kind of like she's like literally like, I'm just gonna use the most basic shit to win battles and shit like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I was legitimately just thinking about this before we started recording, and there's a quote. There's a quote somewhere in Frieren where Fern's kind of questioning why Frieren collects spells, and Frieren just says, "Because somebody praised me for it." Her master praised her, her mistress praised her, and Himmel praised her. And so for her, she is really solely motivated because she was praised. And so to do anything outside of what these people praise her for would just be unnecessary, because a lot of characters chase their magic system or try to be better at their magic system because they like fighting demons. They want to be the strongest. Frieren just wants people. She just wants connections. And so it wouldn't make sense for her as a character to do anything extra, because she doesn't actually want to be strong. She doesn't want to do all of this. She just wants connections. She wants to be reminded of the people she cared about. And so that's why her magic is super basic, because that's all she needed to achieve her goal.
Oh my God, that just broke my soul.
I was literally crying. I was crying thinking about that. I love Frieren so much.
Bro, that is legitimately beautiful. Like to be so much like because you're right. She doesn't give a fuck about being like the best sorcerer or anything like that. Oh, you got something to say. I just saw your face light up.
It's about like her not wanting to be the best sorcerer.
Yeah.
When she fights Ara and she's like, Ara, kill yourself. It wasn't because she's cruel. She doesn't care about fighting demons. She sees it as like a janitorial task, right? It's just something that must be done. And so her saying like, Ara, kill yourself wasn't to disrespect her opponent. It wasn't to show off her strength. It was, I don't even like doing this for real. Can you do it like for me? You know, and it all adds up to show like what Frieren's goals are, what she loves doing. And it's just, it's so good.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think that is amazing because it just speaks to the depth in which the writing really made her stay true to her character. You know what I mean? Even so much that like the way she uses magic is tied back to the connections that she has in her life. You know what I mean? And I think that's so fucking beautiful. I think that's like, like there's so much to say about that. Like you could say from that is like, in order to be the best at something, like you must remove the attachment of being the best and find something about it that motivates you intrinsically, but outside of being the best, like your connection to other human beings. You know what I mean? Like sometimes this is a little sidebar, but like we blerds, we play games, right? Like so for instance, like I like this is actually hella cold, but I play a lot of Tekken with my brother, right? And I've always played Tekken with my brother. And like, I thought about it the other day. It's like when I'll get online, sometimes I'll get mad when I lose or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, I thought about like why I play Tekken. Why do I want to play Tekken? Well, I play Tekken because I want to be close to my brother. You know what I mean? So like, and that helps us, our relationship. As I get better in Tekken, we are able to have more funny, exciting moments. And that's kind of like my motivation. Like I'm going to try to like compete in tournaments and stuff, but it's not my goal to be the best Tekken player in the world. My goal is to be so good at Tekken that, you know, that I can beat up my brother and we can have like good times doing that. You know what I mean? And like, that's been like a huge motivation source for me for that. And I've noticed that like when other things in my life where I'm super like, oh, I gotta be the best. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. It's like, it's so much harder for me to stay consistent with those things. And be forgiving of myself when I don't show up for it, because the goal is like almost external. You know what I mean? It's outside of myself. You know what I mean? When this love, this connection to someone else is deeply within myself. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
I think you really like touched on like the flower spell. Which like on the rewatch, like Tekken is like your flower spell. Like on the rewatch, the flowers is like it breaks you. Like like literally it's in the opening and then you see him like you see her walk through the flower there, and like it's in the second fucking episode or something when the priest dies and you see her just she's cutting through the flowers and you're like, what the fuck are all these flowers? It's not until like episode, I don't even know, like further down the line that you realize why she's doing that spell. And you're like, oh my God, she's been doing that spell the whole time for all these people that she gives a fuck about, until you get to like the end of the season and she's literally talking to the queen elf bitch. And she's like, you know, about to go through the mage exam. And she's like, yo, or at the end, she's like, what's your favorite spell? And she's like, the flower spell. Didn't hesitate. Flower spell. So that's that thing that Flem will touch you. That was dumb. That's really stupid. She's like, whatever. And like, it's just like she misses completely the whole thing. I think it ties directly into, because she also asked the old guy when she's fighting him in the mage exam, she's like, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, what spell are you gonna ask for? And he's like, why the fuck would I ask for a spell? That's really dumb. The best thing about magic is the search and the pursuit of the magic. Like, that's the best part about it. And so to that point, like, and to Hobie's point, like her pursuing the fighting things like that's the shit like she had to do. That's just something that's just a part of it, like her combat, whatever. Her true passion and pursuit is the little things. It's the fun stuff. It's the stuff that she cares about. I think there's a beautiful moment in episode, I don't know, but when it's right after Fern gets on the crew and Fern's like, hey, like, what are we gonna do to earn some money? Because all we did was on that last one was get like nothing. We got a spell to derust a statue. And Fern, and she's like, oh, I don't know. We'll see you in the next town. And they can't pay us, whatever. They get to the next town. The thing she has to do is clean up a statue of Himmel, and it's all rusted, and it's the exact spell she needs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's just like, those are the things, man. But that flower spell, like, there's so many flower spells for in our lives for people
Yeah.
that you just like. Why? Because they want to. Like I have a D&D game that's like not the best. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I play a lot of great crazy D&D, but I went and my wife told me, she was like, I don't give a shit about this. I just want to see my friends. We don't get to see them.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like
yeah.
on the other side of the country. It's a flower spell, man. It's just
Yeah,
wild.
it's a flower spell. We should start saying that shit, bro. It's a flower spell.
No, legit.
Bro. Yeah, yeah.
And I think for every flower spell we have, I think there isn't also like a de-rusting spell. Sometimes in life you just pick up random skills and you don't know when you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Until you do, and then you're going to be very grateful that you spent 3 months perfecting that resting spell or getting that resting spell.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
Came out of her own passions too, right? Like that came just from her pursuing her own thing, not for like somebody else's shit. It's just like I think this is kind of cool.
Yeah, and in that way, it's like almost like the little caveats you take for yourself will help define your life and add more meaning to it later on in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's why it's always important to choose yourself, because it's always going to come back and pay you more. You know what I mean? And that's why we should take those little detours in life when we get so caught up of other people's timelines and thinking I have to have this by then or that by this. You know what I mean? Like, no, just do the thing.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to push back on that too, because you said something earlier, which was this idea of, and no, it's not push back, but I just want to like add to it, because I think a lot of the time we create this sort of either or idea of it's the journey or the goal.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Or the journey was the goal all the time, or the idea these are like detours. It's like, no, this is the whole thing.
It is
like,
the whole thing.
This
Yeah,
is
you're
the
right.
Fucking thing.
Yeah. You're right.
You told me to talk about acting shit. I have an acting coach who I literally just sent Frieren to, like, while I was watching this, and she is like Flemo vibes. Like she is literally, I'm like, this series reminds me of you. You got to watch it. I was trying to wait for Blu-ray, but I sent it to her. And something she says all the time is like, it's very easy in this industry to get caught up being an industrialist and forget that you're an artist. And the thing is, being an artist means you have to live your life because you have to have something to pull from. If you're just going to auditions, in acting classes, trying to like get an agent or be on a show or do whatever, you're not going to have anything to draw from to actually experience your art, right? There's a life, and then there's like, there's your industry shit. This is a job, but you have to have a life in order to exist.
Yeah. And I appreciate said pushback, because it's not the detours. It's really not a detour. Really, it's really the meaning of life. You know what I mean? It's that's the fabric of life. You know what I mean? And everything else is just like, if you really think about it, those are the detours into your life. Like the little objects. Oh, Demon King here, there. Those are the little detours. But the whole piece was literally the discovering of said self. You know what I mean? And I think that's fucking beautiful. I think that's a good way to look at it. You know what I mean? Kind of flip it inside out in a way. And I also want to add, because both of y'all got me like thinking and marinating over here, but like, it's so beautiful that the two spells, like the flower spell, she did because Himmel likes those flowers or whatever. Is that right? He liked the flowers, or are they by his hometown?
They're by his hometown.
They're by his hometown. So it reminds her of him, right? Of Himmel. But also like the other thing that also helps her be a really good magician is like the suppression of her own mana, right? Yeah. And she learned that from who? Her first fucking teacher. You know what I mean? And so she still does these things, again, to Hobie's point, to connect to the people that she loved in her life. You know what I mean? The people who praised her. You know what I mean? And I just find that to be so fucking beautiful, bro. Beautiful. Any thoughts?
Oh, you know what? I was gonna say that Frieren never really lets them die. Like she keeps them alive. And there's literally a quote. Oh my Lance. There's literally a quote where Himmel says, like, dying is, time passing and people forgetting. He says something like, you're dead when people like forget you and stop telling your stories. But Frieren won't shut up about him. So it's like Himmel lives on no matter what. And it's so funny because like all she does is yap about him. I feel so bad, low key, for like Fern or anyone, because it'll be a Monday afternoon. They're eating pizza. Himmel, you still like pizza? Oh my gosh, girl.
Move on, girl. You had no chance. But and also in a way, it's like the most sweet shit ever because she will live forever. And in that way, Himmel will live forever. You know what I mean? And Himmel, I think he was kind of worried about being forgotten. You know what I mean? And in that way, she will never forget him. And that's so fucking sweet. You know what I mean?
The literal sorry,
go ahead. I was going to ask you a question. Fuck! Okay. I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on, since we're there now, you know what I mean, on the Himmel Frieren romance, you know what I mean? And I see Hobie lighting up like a firecracker right now.
Oh my gosh. So I actually did a video when I was at Anime NYC, and the whole video was like describe an anime in under 60 or under 10 seconds or something like that. Yeah. And I said, so I wasn't supposed to say I was saying Frieren, but I said the anime Frieren that I'm describing is the story of a really, really old elf finding out she's been engaged all along. Because listen, Frieren, I personally think she's on the spectrum. All right. It's giving neurodivergent for sure.
For sure.
And I'm like, Frieren, I know you don't be hanging out with humans for real. And I guess spoilers for the end.
That's okay. We're good. We're very spoilers.
Like your man got down on one knee and gave you a ring, and you will look me in the eye and say you're not engaged. Frieren, Frieren, don't play with me, bestie. Because I know you don't understand humans, but you read a textbook. You know what that means. And then you went off, and he was expecting to get married.
Yes.
And you didn't return till he was dead. Oh my gosh.
Damn. That's so sad.
Oh, child. I just.
Honestly, could you say it again? Because I like gagged. You said that shit. I don't want to
One second, David. You move to the right a little bit. You move to the right. You're like fading off the camera a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna lose you. Yeah. I was gonna ask Hobie, can you say that quote again? Because I was like, I like yelled out loud when you said it. I fucked it up. Could you say it again?
I said Frieren is the story of a really old elf finding out that she's been engaged all along.
Literally.
That's literally.
And
so cold.
There was that scene where he got on one knee, and it's like it's almost like there was a moment, I forget what moment it was, but like she literally was like almost like literally finding out that she was like, oh my God, this was a romance. You know what I mean? And I missed out on this because maybe I was too focused on other things at the time that I didn't read. You know, I wasn't, in the present enough to really understand this human. You know what I mean? Because I'm an elf and I look at time differently. But he was loving me. You know what I mean? And
that was love at first sight, bro.
If only I could go back in time and do it. But she said, no, I will continue to love him by keeping his memory alive. You know what I mean?
The journey is literally for him right now. Like she goes into the tree and reads she's on a journey to go to heaven to see his soul right now. Like that's the point. It's like like Himmel's like literally not Himmel. What's the dwarf guy's name? I'm sorry, I'm bad at names.
Stein? No, Stein is the boy. It's in
I literally forgot every single one's name, bro.
I know Heiter.
The
corrupt priest. Himmel.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm illiterate. It's Eisel.
Einer.
Isel.
I don't know.
We're gonna
I googled it and an Esel popped up, so that's not it.
Okay.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know, bro. I guess we'll never know. Mic drops, but
he literally tells her like you gotta go there and talk to Himmel, and see Himmel, and that's like they're going to go past the Demon King's castle, which I think is deeply romantic to see this guy, man.
Yeah, deeply romantic, and she's like almost like there's like so much like temptation building too, because it's like, oh God, I was in love, and he was in love with me, and I didn't even know, and now I gotta go link back up with him. Oh shit! Like,
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. No,
but I was fine. Like, I think, because I don't think Frieren picks up everything that be going on around her, and so I think her watching, oh my gosh, Stark and Fern and them, and so now she has something to like base it off of. And then also the person that joined their team temporarily halfway through, that priest, he also kind of helped explain stuff and give another perspective. And so I think Frieren was able to pick up some XP points and like figure out what was going on because she now can look at it from a different point of view.
It's like in a way she was already a master elf, and now she's kind of learning how to be a human in a way, I guess, or master magician or mage or whatever. You know what I mean? And now she's learning like the small things. And I want to hit at that point is like, the next question I was going to ask is, what do you guys think of her relationship in Fern? And I almost want to say like that Fern, she was almost living vicariously through Fern by helping raise Fern and be her caretaker and be kind of like the figure that teaches her. She was kind of learning about the, because Fern was a little kid when she found her, you know what I mean? And so she was kind of learning about humanness or like things, like it's like the sunset, for example, being present. Love. We saw the ballroom scene with Fern and Stark, which is hella romantic, which is like that shit was like acted so well. I was like, they need a Grammy. You see Fern's facial expressions and shit, like, and I just thought that was so beautiful. And I think Frieren was like kind of watching and seeing this play out and understanding like and learning more about her life and her perspective through Fern and through that relationship of kind of being like the teacher. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts?
I think Fern helps Frieren understand time because there's one scene where she lays back on Fern's lap, like as one would do, and she looks up and she realizes she can't see the sun past Fern's boobs. And I think everyone thought it was like, because it's funny, but it's like, it's also like, oh crap, this kid I raised is now grown. It's that moment where she's just like, my little baby's growing up. Just seeing her like continuously fight with Stark. It's so one thing they do so well is they write like young people so appropriately. There's one scene where Stark like grabs Fern's shoulder and she's like scared because she's like, oh snap, he's a man. And just that whole dynamic and everything, I think it gives Frieren a better understanding of like the relationships and the dynamic and how time impacts both of them and how people grow closer over time.
And also grow personally through things like maybe like being shy or being like, oh, and now she's not feeling that way. So like almost like the interpersonal dynamics of humans and like nervousness and anxiety and like all these random little interpersonal relationship things that maybe she doesn't necessarily feel. You know what I mean? I think it's a great perspective.
No, just double, triple down. Totally agree. I think I don't know, you kind of made me think of my experience because I relate. Honestly, this series is really hard to watch because I relate to Frieren like more than probably any other character in my entire life. Just specifically, because I gotta set this in because that's a weird thing to say. I do think magical people who can do magic, spiritually inclined people. You see in the series, they talk about how you have to be able to visualize something to be able to do magic. Like that's a requirement. Like you can't visualize yourself being a first class mage. Get the hell out of here. You can't even see it happen. It's not going to happen. That skill is an ability to be in your head, right? In order to visualize, you have to be in your head. People who are, and you said Frieren's like on the spectrum, is like, I don't think that's incorrect. Like you do have to be a bit neurodivergent in order to exist in a sort of spiritual space, to be a magical person, because you definitely have to be in your head to be able to form these spells. You have to be able to imagine intricate things. Like imagine like something I'll do. Cause I mean, look, some of these magic systems are so spot on exact to like real life. It blows my mind. But like, imagine how much you have to visualize to make a Susanoo. Like imagine, try to make one right now in your head. Like that's fucking rough. But the thing about like being in your head all the time is it fucks with your experience of time because it disconnects you. Something they talk about also, and neurodivergent people know this, is like you don't miss people. Like you don't miss people. Like where'd you go? I don't fucking know. You're not here. I don't see you. So it fucks with your experience of time. There's so many people I literally like, probably one of my best friends in the world who I'm like realizing is one of my best friends in the world. I saw her and we had dinner and I was like, okay, cool. All right, see you. And she's like, well, let's not make it so long this next time. I was like, I don't know, how long has it been? On some straight up Frieren shit. Like, how long has it been? Like, Dave, it's been like 4 years. I'm like, really? Oh, that's crazy. I get no clue. Just out of my head. that like watching the series has been like cathartic, but also like intense to be like, damn, because there's so many things that she learns from Fern and from people around us. It's just like that I just don't get over my head. All the social niceties, all the things. And if it wasn't for people in my life having grace with me, like her party has had grace with her and how Fern has had grace with her, I would have been like fucking homeless or dead or some shit. I miss so much of that stuff.
Yeah, that's literally beautiful. Go ahead, Hobie.
I was gonna say, I think I also relate to Frieren with her relationship to Himmel, because I think one thing is that we don't understand about Frieren is that we see Frieren as like a super cool, like super pretty, like, you know, she's like the it girl. She probably doesn't think herself to be the it girl, and so she probably couldn't have even visualized or imagined Himmel, a human, liking her, the awkward elf. And I think in my life, I've been in that situation. Where it's just like, first of all, I'm the coolest person to ever exist in this planet.
Fuck yes.
But like in the environments that I spent, because I went to a private Christian, predominantly white university. I was a victim. It was crazy. It was crazy. Gotta say the story sometime. But like I never thought, you know, anyone in that environment would look at me the way Himmel looked at Frieren. And sometimes I'd be telling my friends stories, and I feel like Frieren sometimes it's like, dang, did I miss out? Did you know, like Frieren gets the whole ring. I'm like, if I had my metaphorical ring sing, would I even recognize that? Would I even give yourself a chance to accept the ring if it was given to you? You know?
Yeah. I think that's awesome, and I think it just reminds us like how we can miss out on life. You know what I mean? Not believing we are deserving, or even like believing these things are possible or can happen for ourselves. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's important to really think about what you want for your life and to never be the person to tell yourself no before the world tells you no. You know what I mean? Like you should never be the one shutting yourself down. You know what I mean? And like in any capacity, you know what I mean? So it's like, but I think that sometimes we do that already as almost like a defense mechanism. It's like, oh, I need to protect myself. You know what I mean? Or if I say it's not going to happen, then I don't have to be disappointed when it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? And I can, you know, going through a Christian white private school, I can imagine like there's probably a lot of defense up right there because it's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I'm getting a lot of bullshit. You know what I mean? But also, I think that also kind of touches on the belief, and I think the show does something really beautiful with belief. There's just one character, I can't remember her name, but she's a fucking psychopath. You know what I'm talking about? What's her name? Green Girl.
Green Girl.
Are we calling her Green Girl? Is that what we're doing?
Definitely.
All right, Green Girl, right? And I think she kind of is like kind of neurodivergent as well. And I think this also kind of makes her stronger. You know what I mean? Because of her ability to believe things that are seen as impossible. You know what I mean? She's able to do things that are impossible. Like, for instance, like when she was in the first quiz, right? The first test or whatever, she was going up against a guy that basically had the perfect defense, right? Could not be cut, right? And then she just walks past him nonchalantly and cuts that motherfucker in half, bro. Right? And it's like, and everybody's like, how did she do this? This is not supposed to be possible. And like in that way that Frieren kind of shows you, like through the writing of the magic world, that the belief in itself actually makes you stronger in the magic world. And I'm like, that shit is so hard because not everybody can reach that level because they don't have the same belief in themselves or belief that things can happen. But she is, and she's seen as like the crazy quirk. I mean, she is kind of crazy. I ain't gonna lie. She probably likes a little more deaf more than she needs to. You know what I mean?
Ehre.
Ari. That's her name?
Yeah.
But I think that is I think that's a beautiful addition to the writing for sure. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I was gonna say that kind of makes me think Frieren is just like, Frieren is so good. Frieren Beyond Judy's End is so good because every other anime, every other shonen, action shonen tries to do that, where it's like belief in yourself makes you stronger. Naruto's, you know, Date Bayo, believe it. My Academia, gotta go plus ultra. But in Frieren, like you genuinely, there's a direct correlation between believing in yourself and actually being stronger. It's not just try harder. It's genuinely sit down, believe you can do it, and you can cut the hair. It is just hair.
Yeah, literally. That's fucking fire. And we clipping that, cuz. Hold on. Let me get that written down right now. God damn it. Way to go. That's a fucking combo. Hey, I threw the lob and fucking homie fucking 360 windmill. Slam that bitch, bro. Love to see it. Yes. Awesome. Yes. I love the magic system in fucking Frieren. I think it's fucking amazing. And have you guys read the manga?
I have read the spoilers and some of the manga. Okay. I don't like spoilers, but like I was like, I gotta know what happens. I just gremlin at like 3 a.m. I was like, I got this. And so I've got some of the spoilers, but I don't have the plot.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't know everything that happens. How far is it? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
There's like 200 chapters, I think.
Oh wow,
it's pretty far. I know they just went on hiatus, right? Like I feel like I just read that.
Or the manga?
Yeah.
Okay, so the anime is not nearly caught up, right?
Nowhere.
Not even close?
No.
Oh, okay. So we got a lot more Frieren coming?
We got at least
3 seasons?
4, maybe 5. Because I feel like, I think where the manga is, it's like just getting started, you know?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'm fucking super excited about that.
We're rocking with Frieren for a while.
Let's fucking go. Have you watched Vinland Saga, Hobie?
I watched my brother watch it. So I have not seen it, but I have seen my brother watch it. So
both seasons, or
I don't know. You know what it is? What it is? So I have no reason why I do this, but I categorize Vinland Saga as, I call it buff man anime. So Vinland Saga, JoJo's. I don't have a reason why I don't watch it. I just don't watch what I have coined buff men anime. It's
fair enough.
Buff man anime. I don't know. I just haven't seen it.
Baki is like that's like too buff man for
Baki is buff man anime. Baki is
can't watch it.
There's one scene that I love though. There's one scene in Baki that I absolutely I go feral. I think it's just like where some girl yells like Baki and he like busts through the window. I was like, now that's a man. Oh my word.
That's a man. God damn it.
Literally, 2 seconds later, he busts into the window. I said, yep. That's what we need.
That's hilarious.
There's a place for Baki.
The only reason I bring it up is because Vinland Saga is probably like me and Foes, one of our favorite animes. And speaking to the quote that you brought in the beginning, I think you would really like it. It's it's really geared towards young men in a way, and I call it feminist anime because it really talks about redefining patriarchal structures in society. In order to find like yourself. And I don't want to say anything else because it's going to spoil the fuck out of it. But like it truly is a beautiful anime, and I would love your thoughts on it once you watch it.
I'll add it to my list.
I'll
add it to my list.
The first season is straight buff man anime, but the second season, it gets into a whole other realm, and like it's like Frieren. Like, people are like,
it's more Frieren than it is.
This.
The second season is way Frieren.
Yeah. It's like it's slower. It's more about building the character up from scratch. You know what I mean? And it's very good. I think you'll like it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
There's a if you're trepidatious, in the very opening of the anime, there's a clip of these kids sitting around a fireplace. Yeah. And they're telling this story about like Leif Erikson is essentially telling the story about all these adventures, and the kids are like, yeah, okay, but like you're not a warrior, so we don't give a shit. And you like instantly see the indoctrination from these like proper children. Like, and it's like, oh, that's what this show is doing. Yeah. Like, and you proceed to get indoctrinated and rock with them for the show. But like it's really jarring to watch these kids be like, okay, but you're just like trading stuff. Nobody gives a shit about this. Yeah. Like
you're not killing people.
You're not killing people. And like that's that show, which is I think people are shocked about season 2. I'm like, bro, it was this at the first cell of this show. It was always gonna be this.
Yeah, and the fact that you didn't pick up on it says more about your engagement in it than the show itself. You know
it literally opens up, not a spoiler. It opens up with the goat being like, "Fuck fighting, I'm out." That's the first thing that happens in the show. So it's like, what did y'all think this was gonna be?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's like an actual issue that the anime community is having right now, where people are just like I don't I don't want to do too much because I understand you can watch stuff and it's kind of like turn your brain off and just zone out and watch it. But it's like, do you not know what you're watching?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Did you like again? Frieren Beyond Journey's End in Japanese. Frieren at the Funeral. What did you think you were signing up for? You know, I don't know. Read the synopsis. Like, what happens to doing a little research?
What's Goofy's quote? Goofy, you got a quote. What is it? You can only meet.
You can only meet fiction as deeply as you have met yourself. So people who are complaining about these things, I think in part is because not only have they not met themselves, but sometimes people are unwilling to meet themselves in a different way. So like, they want the same story again. That reaffirms their identity, that reaffirms that empowers them, that shows me, oh, the guy beat the guy, and I'm the guy, and I can beat the guy. Look at the guy get beat. You know what I mean? But like when they tell you a story, and this is we should have talked about this earlier, but I think we did a little bit, where Frieren kind of flips that story on its fucking head, right? And I would ask you to look at life from a different perspective, rather than, oh, I'm the guy, I'm going to beat the guy. It's who am I? What do I want? What matters to me? Who do I love? You know what I mean? And like, there's questions that people are not ready to ask themselves about themselves, and like to almost poke at that, it's like, stop. And we get this visceral, angry reaction. It's like, oh, this show sucks. This show sucks. It's not telling me the story that I've been telling myself, and all the other anime been telling me. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a different story. You know,
it's an ego death for them. Like it's a proper ego death. That it's like your ego will reject that. Like it's like you gave me the thing on the outside, and I was so attached to it. I thought that this was, I'm Deku. I'm the guy. This is the most important thing. We don't know shit about Deku, Mama. How was your homework today? Water. We don't know none of that. But you know, but he's out in the streets every day trying to be a hero, and it's like that's not what life is. To be confronted with that is really challenging for young men. And I will say this, the best thing about anime is like the rewatch is jarring. Like
it's always jarring. Yes.
Like the older you get, the more, because you grow with the series. Like one of my favorite like animes was Trigun back in the day. And because Trigun, the first time through, it's goofy, it's whatever. Like I don't know, I'm neurodivergent. I've fucking seen Trigun like 17 times. Like the 8th time you watch Trigun, it's the most heartbreaking. Like you open up with him in the saloon, drinking himself to death, essentially, being around humans who hate him, who have a $1 billion+ bounty on his head. And it's the most heartbreaking shit in the world. And you're like, fuck, man, like how lonely is he? That this is the only place he can find human connection, because he's so disconnected, because he's such a powerful person. And then the first shot of Trigun is them like blowing up this bar, like essentially shooting it up, and the sign falling down and him just being still sitting there. And when you first see it, you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool shot. After the 8th, 9th time you've seen the series, you're like, oh, right, he's a superhuman and he knew he didn't need to move. That's how strong he is. They established that at the beginning. And it's already establishing the distance between him and everybody else. And so his goofiness and shit is like, it's goofy and whatever, but you see when he takes his shirt off later, it's like he's got scars, and it's like you've been giving up yourself for all these people who hate you. That's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, it's not sexy. You know what I mean? And I feel like the older you get, the more you appreciate shit like that. There's so many animes that are like that, that I know, that I look back and I'm like, fuck. I was hitting like that.
For sure. Obi, did you want to?
I was just gonna say that's me with Fullmetal Alchemist. I think I like both of them, because Wrath in the original is my baby. I love him. But I've seen the Brotherhood. I finally stopped doing it because I was like, girl, touch grass. But I used to rewatch it like 2 or 3 times a year.
Honestly, same.
You get it.
And every time, I'm literally the reason why I don't talk about Fullmetal Alchemist on TikTok or on Instagram is because nobody is willing to look at it for what it is. And like it is genuinely the best anime of all time, but people are so afraid of anything other than like, I just want to fight and, action and alchemy and this and that. But I'm like, this show is so freaking good. You're doing a disservice to yourself and to the author and to the entire world by refusing to think deeper on anything.
I think that's beautiful. And Full Metal Alchemist Brother is my favorite anime. I've watched it. Used to watch it once a year. I'm actually due pretty soon for a rewatch.
No, man, we might have an episode on that bitch for real, for real.
Hey, man, if we do Full Metal Brotherhood, I have to watch the series all over again.
No. I'm saying like we gotta. I'll crank it with you. Let's go.
Oh, let's do it. Oh yeah, we can schedule that in, bro. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Full Metal Alchemist is so deep. It literally like the gates of truth. I don't know if you guys know. The gates of truth are literal maps of your consciousness. They are like God tier maps. They're based in Judaism. They're Kabbalistic trees of life that are literally maps of the entirety of the human experience. And it's giving it to you. And the whole series is a map of the entirety of the human experience. Like that series is so fucking goated that I can't even.
It's amazing. And it touches on so many things like philosophy, war, the meaning of life, the interconnected of human beings. Like, and it's like, I think what people need to learn to do is to stop looking at stories and saying, okay, what can this story, what can I gain from this story? You know, or what it's going to reinform, and say, okay, what can this story give me in the sense of like, I'm going to go on a journey, right? I'm embarking on this journey, and I don't have all the answers. I'm discovering it as I go, and like just being in that journey of it. But it's like, I feel like, you know, this is not to be like super gatekeeping because it was probably bad before, but like as it has gone more mainstream, I think it's only made this problem more worse, and we're seeing more like of like a kickback from it because people are not willing to just go on the ride of the anime and just let all your attachments go and just like vibe with it and see where it takes you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like from a very early age, that's kind of like the perspective, you know, I kind of took with things because like I looked to anime to escape my reality very much, but also I didn't have a high sense of self-worth. So I wasn't really looking for these things to kind of reaffirm me. I was just looking for an escape. So it allowed me to where my ego or my self-worth was low enough, unfortunately, right? Where I wasn't going to be looking to reinforce me. I was looking for it to build the world around me. And so I allowed it to fill in the blanks of life rather than just to reinforce whatever I wanted to reinforce in myself. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like,
Right.
So like,
I think this kind of I think this kind of goes back to what we said in the very beginning. Like some anime, it may not be like the most flashy spell, but sometimes it is like the rusting, like the de-rusting spell, you know? And you don't know what it's going to do until you need it. Like you don't know how important it is until you need it. And that's what Full Metal Alchemist kind of is. Because at first you're just like, okay, that was a really good show. And then, you know, you grow older and you start realizing the symbolism. Like, oh my gosh, the symbolism. I watched it with my mother and she was like, oh, don't you know that that's actually this and that relates to this?
Is she British?
Like, is she my mom is English, by the way.
Oh, that's why you pop that accent out so smooth. That's crazy.
She's from she's like literally from Nottingham, which is Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood territory. So like
wow.
Like very English. I'm reminded of it every time she cooks. It's just gotta love it.
Well, I love that. That's a great fact about you. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Mom's from England. Dad's from Jamaica.
Whoa, girl.
Got it.
That's how I got here.
And that's like how we always have this point in the episode. Was like, weren't we talking about Frieren? Like, how the fuck did we end up here? Like, it's like, oh shit, but that's what it's about. You know what I mean? It's ultimately about, you know, relating it to life and continuing to, you know, explore ourselves. Yeah, but awesome. Any other thoughts about anything Frieren and in general that we feel like we need to say or we want to say? Just want to put that out there.
I think
want to be clipped either.
I think one thing we can keep in mind is there's like a main character syndrome kind of going around. Where people want to be the Deku, want to be the Bakugo. People want to be Denji from Chainsaw Man. Like you are not that down bad. Like please stand up. You have never, you don't struggle like that. Not to judge, but you probably haven't sold your organs yet. And it's like maybe instead of trying to self-insert, see what else you can gain from it, you know?
For sure.
Maybe you're not the main character, but maybe the main character has something to share with you. Maybe the side characters have something to share with you. Maybe you can actually learn something from like the love subplot. You know, there's more to anime than just action.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really want people to start paying attention to more than just that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what this podcast is about, bro. It's like trying to make people think deeper, look deeper at the things that, the things that we love, you know what I mean? Because there's things that we can learn from this that teach us about life. It teaches about, everything that we have. And David's smiling like that. He's got that reading rainbow ass, wholesome ass smile on right now. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm like enjoying the show. And I literally was going to ask Hobie a question that literally would have been, and the answer to the question literally would have been exactly what you said. So I just didn't need to ask the fucking question. Like
that's awesome. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about that because I feel like you have such a great perspective on that.
What specifically?
And like this fanboy community, I'm not like super deep in the community like that, so I don't really get a lot of that. But I know that that's a lot of perspective. And the thing is, and you know what, like I knew there was a difference because I started following. I'd probably follow you, but I started following a bunch of like women content creators for anime. Yeah, and it was like because like the algorithm it tunnels you and like. I'm just like I for like years I'm like I guess all anime is fucking power scaling. I don't know. Like I'm like there's only so much you could do. Like how many times I want to hear you talk about Gojo fighting Goku. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. And the first time like I got like a couple because I got a couple cosplayers. Oh yeah, I made it a point to follow a bunch of like black women cosplayers because I'm petty. Like support, but like the first time I saw like a woman content creator like talking about anime, I was like, what the fuck is this? And like the rabbit hole I went down, and there's so many like the perspectives aren't just power scaling, and I just started to genuinely appreciate that. And so hearing your take on it and being like, because they do still be out there. I see them comments, and I'm just like, bro, like, oh man, they're so boring,
bad.
Wild, but like, they're young. And
you're talking about the racism specifically and
everything, the whole thing. I mean, they're young, but I mean, look, the most popular, the one that makes the cash right now is Shonen Jump. Like that's the cash cow. And so often I think that there's always a new influx of stupid. Right. Like there's always a new because everybody's young, and so we're getting older, and we get to kind of experience anime from an adult perspective. And so a lot of these kids are coming into this with this sort of limited perspective. I think the best thing about anime is the fact that they're slow burns, and the fact that if that fan service has got your ass coming back like 3-4 times to rewatch it, go ahead. Yeah, because on that 5th time
you'll learn eventually.
Something's gonna hit you. Like so much of that shit is like I think an opportunity to grow, and I think I've experienced my own growth from shows that I wouldn't have, like Guilty Crown, random ass like anime. It makes no like what, it just blows my soul away. There's so many things I get from that show, and to your point, like getting off of your sort of expectations and projecting your expectations onto that shit, and just taking the show for what it is, I think can be a really powerful lesson.
I think 100 times over, I think that is exactly where we need to go. And I think one of the things that prevent us from getting there, I think, is not only our expectations, but also something I call ASC. Okay, I had to struggle a little bit there because I had to remember. I just made it up in my head, but I used to say this all the time. It's anime stan culture, bro. It's like this. It's like the belief that your anime is so. It's almost like a way I can describe it is like treating your anime like a sports team, and instead of looking at it critically, you go online and you try to defend it as much as possible. Oh, you can like people will say some crazy ass shit like One Piece pacing isn't slow. It's not slow. It's not slow. You guys have all right, bro. They spread 3 pages of manga over 30 minutes, bro. Their pacing sucks. We can just say that. You know what I mean?
Bro, there is a website. Sorry.
Yeah, it's one pace. Yeah, there's a website.
Yeah. It's free and nobody said shit. It's that bad.
Yeah, or they might say like, somebody might say Dragon Ball Z is has no story, or the story is kind of basic, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, are you serious? It is the most complex anime you have ever seen in your life. Did you know that Cells baby mama is my cousin and she choked?" I'm like, bro, you'll go like in as deep. But I think what I'm trying to say is that because we want to defend our anime so much, that it's almost like comes off as anti-intellectualism. You know what I mean? In the sense that we are not trying to engage deeper in these animes and notice their flaws and talk about their flaws, but also talk about what they do well. You know what I mean? And talk about what this anime does well and what it does bad. That it almost like it it lowers the quality of understanding of an anime. You know what I mean? Because you're worried more about defending it and pretending as though it's perfect because you identify with it really hard, and it's like it's your guy, so you don't call my show mid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm Naruto, and Naruto's my best friend, and he saved me. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, we can just talk about these shows for what they are. You know what I mean? And like what we feel about them. You know what I mean? And by all means, if you feel like One Piece, if you really one of them one motherfuckers that say One Piece is not pacing is not slow, sure, okay, sure, that's your subjective experience. But like to deny that for other people and to say like maybe I can see how someone else might think this is slow, or I can see how someone else might say Dragon Ball Z is a little flat. You know what I mean? And maybe a little boring because of that. You know what I mean? I think you ultimately like you kind of just dumb down the conversation. And it doesn't allow for like, you know, intellectualism, you know, and to really look at these animes for what they are and what they aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you about to say, Albie?
I was going to say anti-intellectualism. I literally just watched a YouTube video on this. It is an actual issue on Book Talk because Book Talk, the book side of TikTok, is literally Shein. The books, there's no reason why you are doing, oh my gosh, unbox 100 new books with me, and then 2 months later you're like unhauling 200 books because they are bad. And it's like we are just grabbing at mediocrity to fill a temporary void, and people refuse to say that this book is bad. Sarah J. Maas is one of the top authors in the world. She can't write a sentence. Those sentences sound horrible. I have read fan fiction about Sato Sugu written by a girl in Russia who don't even speak English, and her sentences were better than Sarah J. Maas. Like, I don't want to go on a rant, but literally.
Oh wait, okay. I just look her up. Yeah, no, those I can't finish those fucking books.
Don't read. First of all, she used Breonna Taylor's murder to promote one of her books. Crazy.
We good.
Insert SpongeBob sound. Like right there, that's trash. Yeah,
we good.
Absolutely. And then I didn't know that at the time, so I read the first 10 chapters of her book. So girl gets kidnapped. Oh, but the guy is kind of hot who kidnapped me. I cannot lie to you. Every 3 pages, she says the phrase, "I was so scared my bowels turned to liquid." I'm over here on Twitter like, is this girl gonna crap her pants or not? Because why are we using this phrase on repeat? It's just like, I'm like, this is not a good book. It's not a good book. And people are so afraid of that because it's the first book they've read since high school. It's the first romance they've read. The guy is not horrible, I guess. And I'm just like, y'all, just because it's the only thing that's keeping you going right now doesn't mean it's like perfect. You can be okay with mediocrity. You can read stuff that's bad. Wonder Egg Priority, one of my favorite anime.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yes.
It's so good. It's bad.
Yes. And I think being okay with saying like the things that we enjoy sometimes suck. You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's kind of why I love it sometimes. I like my shitty little dramatic ass show. I watched all seasons of CW The Flash. God damn it! All right,
that's intense.
Yeah, I the show was kind of mid. All right, they be throwing shit around, but on a Saturday I throw it on. I'm enjoying it. I love the little rhythmic beats of it. It's predictable. I'm like, yes, it's fun, and I think it's kind of bad, but I enjoyed it. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be. Just because you enjoyed it doesn't mean it has to be good. You don't have to think it's good. We can separate that in our mind and say, okay, I think it's enjoyable, but I can also see how this is probably written pretty shitty. But I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Again, people attaching themselves to it and thinking like, oh, it has to be perfect, is dumbing down the conversation, and we're not able to talk about what it did well and what it didn't well because people are identifying with it and saying that was the show that I watched when I was depressed and it saved me. Oh, good for you. And I want you to have that for yourself. Well, but it doesn't mean I can't talk about it. Don't flatten the conversation. That shit is ass. All right?
To be the actual Demon King. First of all, Vampire Diaries is goated. To be the actual Demon King right here, there is something to be said about like just like the lack of comparison in situations like this, because at the end of the day, it's just like what resonates for you does matter the most. Like even if like the majority of us are like that's ass. Like if that shit really did get you through a rough time, like how much stupid shit, especially man, anybody who's had real depression, it always be the dumb shit that do it for you. Like I ain't got time for nothing, man. Like just throw on some garbage, and I'm just like, man, that house
I'm gonna eat it up.
That shit made me happy. God damn it.
You know what I mean? I feel that. But also to your point, I do think that the challenge is that we become identified with these things. We identify, And when that becomes a part of your identity, it becomes difficult to see anything but your perspective on that. And I think that really is the issue. Like, less it being like good or bad, but the fact that like you were unable to recognize a perspective that's different than yours.
It comes like an attack on you, on a personal attack on you.
Well, it feels like you're dying.
Right? It's like go ahead, Hobie.
And I think part of the reason is people have forgotten the purpose of books and like TV and stories. And it's again, not everything is going to be your flower spell. Sometimes things are just going to be your anti-rust spell. And sometimes you just got to read things or watch things that are for the betterment of you, for you to learn stuff. Not everything is supposed to be entertainment. Sometimes you just watch it to keep your brain young, to keep you thinking. Like I read Life of Pi, a critically acclaimed book, most boring book in the world.
So boring.
It's so freaking boring. I hated it. I'm still waiting for it to pay off. I assume it made me smarter somehow. But I think people really need to go back, maybe read Fahrenheit 451 or something, and figure out like what the purpose of books.
For sure. And it's to teach you something.
To your point, I think I probably said in the last one. I'm not sure. I don't think I might have said it on live. But to your point, like, and to Frieren's point, I feel like I read this quote from some spiritual book. I think it was from Swami Vivekananda, but it's every concept is a prop for higher consciousness, and like a way to kind of think about that is like every concept is a prop for, I said that. So like if you think about water, right? The concept of drinking like water, that's a concept, right? But the experience of me actually drinking the water is a state of higher consciousness. Like the experience of drinking water is the experience of the now. That's life in this moment, right? There's no concept. I could talk about, water is wet and it's got this liquidy thing. I could describe every concept like that I could. Nothing would ever get close to drinking water. Nothing would ever get close to the experience of life. All these books and things and all these things that we're seeing, whatever, they're lifting us into, they're giving us moments of presence where we're off our heads. We're not in our heads. We're in these experiences. We're in these stories, and we're in this moment now. And I think so much of what story does is give us not only the experience of now, right now, but also stories that show you the challenges and shit that people go through without you having to do all the work of going through those challenges.
Exactly.
So get up into life and you leave that theater, you're like, man, like, I could probably do some shit today. Like, and I think that's such a beautiful thing about stories.
And I love that you said that. And I think that's fucking beautiful. I really do think that's beautiful, bro. And I something that I really love about stories is that it has that effect on you to really like make you grow and it kind of be like a guidebook in a way. It's like, oh, I can deal with these situations this way. Like one of those shows that really did it for me is Frieren, honestly, like reminding me to be present. You know what I mean? To be present and appreciate the little things. You know what I mean? Villain Saga also is like redemption, right? If you've done a lot of bad things in your life, or you think you have a lot of shame and guilt, there's always a path to redemption for anyone. You know what I mean? If it could be for fucking Thorfinn, a fucking war criminal, like you can find a fucking redemption. You know what I mean? You can find redemption in your life. You know what I mean? And I think that's super important. And I'm like, to add on to that, but also to kind of go back to some things we were talking about earlier, as far in reference to like the stories and like, Shonen Jump being like the biggest cash cow and why we get so many, like, I don't want to say brain dead anime because I don't think they're all.
No, you can say that shit. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say buff men anime.
Okay.
I'm gonna say buff men anime. I think it's partly in part because of capitalism. You know what I mean? And the need to chump out the most popular thing and not give us the thing that we really need the most. The best story. You know what I mean? And I think, obviously we could talk about the horrible treatments of anime content or creators. You know what I mean? The process of animation. This is all brutal processes from the manga artists and how competitive it is. But I also just think the very nature of how it is marketed and what anime gets decided to be greenlit is heavily dependent on how much money it is going to make. And I think when you put art in a box like that, where you think about, okay, what I'm not going to make what's best. I'm going to make what's profitable. You know what I mean? Sometimes you cut a lot of stories out of the way. Sometimes we get like a Frieren, we get like a villain saga that sneaks through, and because the cash cows make way for the other deeper anime, right? Yeah. Because they can just take risks now. You know what I mean? But sometimes I think about, what if this foundation of capitalism was never there? Imagine what kind of stories we'd have. You know what I mean? Well, imagine the kind of things that would get animated and would be marketed across the world, but just because of the potential for good in the anime. You know what I mean? And I think about that a lot, you know what I mean? As a radical, as a communist, you know what I mean? It's like, I think about a world post-capitalism where we can make stories for the sake of art instead of the sake of profit. You know what I mean?
And that reminds me actually of Apothecary Diaries. So Apothecary Diaries, Apothecary Diaries and Frieren were going back to back. So, that was great. A great time to be alive. But Apothecary Diaries was originally, when it was adapted into a manga, they tried to get it to be published as a shoujo, but nobody was reading it because it was called a shoujo. And so they slapped the shonen label on it, changed up the story a little bit so it felt like a shonen. And now it's like a huge success. And I'm just like, not only, yes, capitalism is like the biggest issue, but I really want like us as anime fans to try to be conscious of what we're reading. Because why did it take Apothecary Diaries to be a shonen for people to start buying it? Why couldn't people buy it as a show? Like some of the
or misogyny, anime, probably. I don't tell that to you.
100%. And I'm just like, people are missing out on life. People are missing out on life because they are worried about labels.
Fuck labels, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, be who you are.
I'm so glad you said Apothecary Diaries.
For sure.
It's good.
It's so fucking good. But to your point, like I think Frieren is like, I don't even want to say an anomaly. Like that shit it goes, bro. I went to the cons this year. I can't find a Frieren toy. Yo, y'all got any figures? Y'all got any Frieren shit? No, it's all sold out, bro. That was day one. I don't know what to tell you. That is wild.
That's dope.
It's like transcended. So I think, in a real way, it is resonating. And I love that it's resonating with shonen. Like that's wild to me. And I think it's exactly correct. It's perfect for that audience. And the fact that it was like popping off like at the time where like JJK is popping, Apothecary Diaries is popping. Some of these like also throw them up, whatever fucking shows are popping is also like, to rise above that. It's not like we were in a lull. Popping. It's going. So I think that's really great.
I think personally I could do a better job of watching other types of shows in anime, because sometimes I lean back on what I did when I was a kid. It's like, if they ain't fighting, fuck are we doing? You know what I mean? And like sometimes, I mean, that was like a common thing I used to say. But as I've gotten older, I want different things out of the show that I like than just fights. You know what I mean? But to that point, Hobie, you gotta give us a list of things to watch, and I definitely want to hear your perspective, because I think you kind of like have navigated this differently, not only as a woman, but just as an enjoyer of media. I think your own path has gone differently than ours. So I would definitely love to see some really good stories that maybe are not buff men anime that we could just like watch and just fucking enjoy for the story, and then maybe we can have you back on for another episode. You know what I mean?
If I had to give you guys one recommendation for a shonen anime, I'm gonna have to say y'all should check out Fruits Basket. They like, it came out like in the early 2000s, but they redid it. It is gonna make you think a lot about again, like what I said earlier about like kindness and believing in the power of love, and not in the respectfully cheesy way like Naruto believes in love, but like an actual tangible real life kind of love. And Fruits Basket, all the characters are traumatized, every last one of them. Ain't nobody had a decent childhood, but it kind of shows like how to navigate it, and the concept of like, do you forgive? Can you move on? Like, what to do next? How do you accept the love that you don't think you deserve? It is, when I tell you, it is peak fiction. It is so good. It's
okay.
It is delicious. Just
I started it.
You started it?
I started it. Yeah, I started it, and then I think JJK started right when I started. I was like, oh, shit,
that'll do it. But the niggas fighting got you.
I know, basic as fuck. But I'm so glad you said that to remind me. I'm gonna watch that shit. Hell yeah.
It'd be like that sometimes. You know what I mean? And I think part of that, not to get too deep, but I mean, fuck it, we get deep. This is what the fuck we do here. I think a part of that is because as a young age, men are kind of removed. At least I can speak from my experience of emotions. They're removed from emotions. They're removed from the power of honestly, they're neglected. You know what I mean? They're neglected and they're told that they're not allowed to feel these feelings. So we have to funnel all our feelings through anger, through aggression, through punches to be able to feel these deep emotions. You know what I mean? Which is, it's sad. You know what I mean? It really is. It's a travesty that young boys are not allowed to be, these loving fucking flower picking, fucking skipping through the fucking forest. They're like, calm that shit down. You ain't no girl. You know what I mean? And I think that translates into the things that we watch. You know what I mean? Again, reinforming the identity that we are supposed to have because society was telling me I got to be a tough man. I got to be strong. As a matter of fact, that's why I don't like Deku. Because Deku bitch ass be crying all the time. And I'm a man, bro. Stop crying so much, Deku, you big ass cry baby, bro. Men don't cry. My daddy told me. You see what I'm saying? You see where that kind of stems up, and I think it kind of also carries over into the kind of shows that we watch and also don't watch by extension. You know what I mean?
I think there is definitely a shift happening, but I also think that
I agree.
I totally agree that I think we're seeing it, and the point I was trying to make earlier is that about the depression epidemic with young men. We're seeing the ramifications of that right now. We're experiencing that, and also the inability to, like Frieren, form relationships that are meaningful relationships. Because when you're running from experience, you're running from feelings. You're not seeing anything there. I can't tell you. I don't know if this happens to you guys. I'll have a moment of clarity, and a moment of enlightenment where you just kind of, I don't know, the intrusive thoughts stop, and then you look back and you're like, I missed so many things, and you thought things that you missed come rushing in. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh fuck, I didn't, and this happened, and then this happened, and oh my god, I wasn't paying attention. How did I miss this? That is intense, man. And I think we miss so much when we want to avoid stuff, man.
For sure.
We are like Frieren. We missed the ring scene completely.
Every time
it goes over our heads.
And I think that's a good button to put an end on it right there.
That's a good place to stop, man.
I couldn't stop. Hey, homie, put the cherry on top with that one, goddamn. Brought us full circle, goddamn it. But thank you so much, Hobie, for stopping by today. I'm disappointed in myself that I waited this long to reach out to you and have a conversation with you, because I really do appreciate your thoughts and your mind. I think you have a lot to add to this space, and I'm glad that you're in it, creating content and doing what you're doing, bro. So please tell them where they can find you.
All right. Well, you guys can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Hopi Kage. That's Hopi like J-Hope, and Kage like Hokage. You can find me on YouTube and TikTok again at HopiKage_games. I'm on Twitch, and that's awesome. All my places.
Any other thoughts before we go?
Make sure you pick up your spells on your way through life.
She got another one. She got it in her pocket. She's like, I got a revolver off the hip. I'm gonna just send you a random message one day and be like, "What you got for me today, Obi?" And she gonna fire one back.
Just the whole episode.
I'm saying, But
thank you,
guys.
thank you.
Without further ado, I am Goofy Wise, your political radical.
I'm motivational speaker, spiritual weirdo.
Yeah, and this has been Mindful Blerd. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.